Today's episode is sponsored by Dynasty Athletic Performance and NC Football Connections.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Season 365 podcast. Be sure to follow us on X, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spotify channel, and now Apple Podcast channels. Today, we have a special guest. We have Coach Curtis Clark, defensive coordinator at Cox Mill High School in Concord, North Carolina. What's up, Coach? How are you?
What's going on, man? How everything going, man?
Man, it's been a busy day, man, but appreciate you for making time to hop on to talk a little bit of ball, man. But thank you for asking.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, Coach. So before we get into today's topic, always a popular topic about climbing the defensive coaching ladder. But before we get to that, give our listeners a quick snapshot of your journey up until this point.
Man, I started back in 2009 at Western Guilford High School.
Okay.
I was on the offensive side of the ball first as a running back coach.
Okay.
Then my second year, I migrated over to the defensive back side of the defense side of the ball.
Okay.
And I've been on that side of the ball ever since, up until now. Yeah, ever since.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have a background on both sides of the ball, and
Yes, sir.
I'm sure that your experience on the offensive side helps you as a defensive coach as well, giving players that perspective of it, correct?
It does. Just being on that side of the ball, I learned a lot from those coaches. Then flipping over to the next year, it made things much easier for me. And understanding leverage and understanding telling those defensive backs leverage a wide receiver's feet and how they want to stem you and things like that.
Excellent. Great detail. Well, let's go ahead and get to it, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Climbing the defensive coaching ladder. We were talking a little bit before we went live. There's a lot of logistics that's involved. There's a lot of personalities you might have to manage, a lot of sacrifices over the weekends. But before we get to that, let's get to it. So what steps did you take early in your career to separate yourself from other defensive coaches?
Well, the first step I took was just learning the game of football. Coming into it, I played ball, but I didn't understand the game of football. So that's one thing. And I'm a creature by habit. I like to learn. I like to read. And so when you're up under a good defensive coordinator, you just ask questions.
There you go.
And so when I first started out, I didn't ask no questions in the beginning because I didn't know football, right? I was in the meeting just quiet.
Nervous.
Yeah, man. And,
That's normal.
I did the grunt work, honestly. As a GA would, I did the grunt work. I washed clothes while those guys was in class. I cut grass. I painted the fields. And that taught me a lot about just football in general. It's bigger than X's and O's.
Absolutely.
That part about it, you just got to love that part of just serving and wanting to just do that grunt work part instead of just racing to being a coordinator or being whatever. You just got to just be where your feet planted and love what you're doing and help push the vision of the coach at that time.
Yeah, that's some good feedback. And what I learned over my career is that head coaches will never assign you a task that they won't do themselves.
Facts.
Right. And a lot of times when young coaches get assigned this task, grunt work, right?
Yeah.
They fail to realize that there's opportunities in that. So if you're doing, let's say, washing the laundry, lining the fields, breaking that on the film, you're getting experience that you could take with you anywhere. Yep. Right. So if your head coach, so anyone's listening, if your head coach gives you a task, man, embrace it and get good at it.
Love it, man. Own it. Treat it as your own. Be the head coach of that specific thing. Don't run from it because at the end of the day, he's watching you, but not really watching you, but really watching you to see what you're going to do in those moments. Or watch your face or watch your mannerism. I don't know, coach. Or if you're half doing it, he's going to be like, man, I don't know if I can trust this guy or rely on this guy to give him extra tasks or give him a coordinator position or anything like that. So that's what I did in my beginnings of my journey.
And as you know, man, if what's the old saying goes, if I could trust you with a little, I could trust you with a lot.
For sure. That's biblical, baby. That's biblical, man.
So let's so how important is mastering one position versus understanding the entire defensive structure from a coordinator perspective?
So for me, I mastered being a DB coach. In my early career, I mastered being a DB coach. I mastered coverage. I mastered, how does this fit with what my defensive coordinator is talking about? And when I mastered that, then I started going to the front end. I started adding the fronts and aligning the coverages with that. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm putting this puzzle together.
The
whole puzzle together. And now it's like, it's becoming easier. Yep.
Yeah, very, very good point. And what I appreciate most about your response is you focus on your area first, but when the picture, conceptual, right? When you got into the coordinator role, you had to get comfortable with learning the box as well and connecting the front to the secondary. And that's the area, if people don't know, that's the area that can help you be successful or get you in trouble.
Facts.
A lot of times looking at the film, right, looking at Twitter, there's a lot of fancy blitzes and all that good stuff, right? Beautiful stuff. However, if it's not covered up in the back end, it could be 6 points.
Oh, yeah. You giving up 6 on your head quick, and your head coach coming at you like, what are you doing?
Good point there. So what skills or habits helped you earn more responsibility and eventually becoming a coordinator?
Being reliable and listening.
There you go.
Being reliable and listening. Being there with my coordinator. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. I've been blessed to be up under a lot of good coordinators. Coach Bohr, giving him a shout out. He's in West Virginia. Coach Mellon, I don't know it yet, but he's from the Charlotte area. Coach Puryear was under him. And I've been blessed to just watch and listen and take things from them and add it to, I call it my Batman tool belt. So I take some things and add it to my tool belt. Now I have a gumbo full of me. So yeah, I made it into my own feng shui.
Yeah, that's a good point. And sharing from the other side, from the offensive side, very similar. You have to have a head coach that's willing to give you an opportunity, but you're always a willing learner, right? And I can say, like you, over my career, I've had an opportunity to work for a lot of successful head coaches, coordinators, right? And over the years, I've taken something from each one. Because you never know when you're going to need it, right?
Sure.
And, in high school, you're at the mercy of your talent. Some year you got some dogs, so you can do multiple things. But some year you don't have that, but you still have to figure out a way to be successful. So the more you can learn, the better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I also would say that, like you said, I think piggyback off that about your personnel, understanding your personnel. Right. And if you don't have those dogs, man, you listen, you're gonna have to put some sugar and grits together, baby, and make some porridge or something, man.
Very, very true statement, man. Very true statement. Excellent. Love it. So how do you build trust? You mentioned trust, but let's touch on that a little bit more. So how do you build trust with head coaches and positional coaches as you move up?
My consistency and, like I said, reliability, being the first man there. Like I'll be honest with you, like I beat my head coach a few times, like, and I'm in competition every time, and he don't know it, but he'll probably hear it. But like, if I'm beating my head coach there, then that's telling me something, right? And with my positional coaches and the coaches I've been up under, it's just consistency. How much film are you watching? How much can I trust you on a Friday night when we at halftime, when we get brains beaten in? What can we do to stop the bleeding? And I look at stuff like that, and I know that coordinators that I've been up under looked at me at like that because I was consistent, I was reliable, and I did my job when they asked me to do my job.
Yeah, very, very good point. Meaningful feedback when you're meeting together as a staff. Obviously, emotionals. You got to control your emotion, right? Everybody might be frustrated or might be happy. Reality is somewhere in between, but it all boils down to that film study. If everyone's watching film, you can give meaningful feedback and fix problems if there's any problems. Okay, so Good point there. So let me ask you this: what mistakes do defensive coordinators or defensive coaches make that slow down their growth?
One, to rush up too fast.
Yeah.
And go against the grain of the coordinator and not be a team guy. They come in with selfish motives. At first, they'd be like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
But, you being around this thing 17, 18 years, you know who's real and who's not.
For sure.
In Florida, we call it a perpetrator. Like, so we know it, right? And we can see if they got their mask on or not. And that's how much either you going as far as like the task you're going to get from that coordinator or the less task you're going to get from that coordinator. Yeah. So he's going to know the truth right then and there.
Yeah. And I'll say this, and I'll add on to that. As a positional coach at one point in time in my career, you have to be a servant leader. So when you do get an opportunity, you do want to help, coaches to develop, like assistant coaches to develop. But like you said, if the trust isn't there, you will be a little hesitant to assign tasks. And the worst thing that can happen as an assistant coach, in my opinion, is not learn from a coordinator, right? Because I'm telling you right now, the title is one thing, but until you get your chance, and when you do get your chance, you gotta be ready to rock and roll. And if you don't have any mentors that can show you how to put together practice plans, how to break this stuff down, how to scout, how to focus on this piece today, team run, team pass, team screen, like if there's no template, it's going to be hard when you do get your chance.
For sure. It is. And I know some young guys, like, what's funny is I was speaking to a 19-year-old kid last week at the Glacier Clinic. And I told him, I said, listen, man, don't be so in a rush to climb the ladder. I was 19 years old and I started at 19. So I was like, man, just like be where your feet is planted, wherever you are, wherever you're going to be at, and just serve the head coach. You gonna climb the ladder if you just go in there with a service heart. Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna definitely happen. So, how important, in your opinion, is networking in advancing your coaching career, and how did you approach it? You just mentioned, the Glacier Clinic. I'm talking, but what's your thoughts about networking and it to help with advancement?
Building relationships is number one key for me. I work with the Glacier Clinic. I work for the company. Nice. Actually, I've been working with them for like 13 years now.
Excellent.
And I built meaningful relationships. Now, I don't want anything from these college coaches or high school coaches. Yeah. I just built relationships. Yeah. I can reach out to a couple of coordinators that I know of right now. And building a relationship is key in this thing. Yeah. You gotta want to go and talk to somebody. You can't be an introvert and think you got it all planned out when you don't at the end of the day. Because if an old coordinator told me, once you get to a point of you know it all, you need to get out of this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You're forever learning. You're forever getting knowledge about something, because the wheel never changes, but the football scheme of it does change.
Yes.
So people come up with things and people take things. It's a mimic game. And so you got to forever be a student of this thing.
Yeah, very, very true statement. And, Coach Carter, shout out to him for getting his opportunity at Sacramento State. But when I was at the Coalition Clinic, he told us specifically, he said, listen, I know you guys came together, right, with groups, et cetera. But I challenge each coach in here to meet at least 5 new coaches that they didn't even know, right? And if you really want to challenge your game, meet 10 different coaches, right? But we all know that sometimes it can be intimidating, man. You walk in there and you see this crew here and you see this body there. You're like, oh, I don't know any of these people. But half the battle is just showing up. And more often than not, everybody's there on the same page anyway. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Well, one thing I've learned is that I'm bold enough and I'm confident enough in who I am and knowing what I am, but I'm also humble enough to shut my mouth and be the quiet person in the room, because I don't have to say much, and I can just listen and network throughout the room until somebody asks me a question. Then I'm gonna open up my mouth and be like, give my opinion about it. But you gotta take the first step and just open up your mouth and just, hey, how you doing? My name is such and such. I'm from here. What do you guys run when in this situation? That's how I approach things when I go to clinics.
There you go. I like it. And also, like, if there's lunch, you see a coach sitting by themselves, hey, pull up. I did it yesterday, man. Coach, I didn't even know him. Like, we eating over there at the Tatum Clinic. And you know, I looked around. I said, oh, and then I just sat there and just started talking, and here we go. So definitely put yourself out there.
Yes, sir.
You know, so let me ask you this: what's the best way for a young coach to show they're ready to call a defense?
JV. I would give the task to a JV, and then you know the crazy thing about it, I help with JV on Thursday nights, and you know I do have a guy, two guys actually. A shout out to my DB coach, Coach Scott, one of the best DB coaches in North Carolina, I believe, and my D-line coach, and they call it, and I just assist. Like I don't take nothing from them. I'd be like, hey man, you might want to do this next time, or you might want to call this next time. At halftime, they got it, man. They run the show, and I glean from them honestly as much as they glean from me, because at the end of the day, they can teach you as much you can teach them as well. So you know, I'd be like, man, what's that call you call? Like what how did you mix that up there? And I liked it. You know, it might work on Friday night, so you just never know.
Yeah. Love it. And I love working on Thursdays too, man. Usually I'm hanging out in the box, you know, looking at the picture, giving, you know, I'm taking notes. You know, if the JV coordinator asks my opinion, I'll share my thoughts, but ultimately they run the show. And, but when we come together, you know, at halftime, everyone have a chance to share their thoughts and saying, hey, this is what I saw based off of the notes. But at the end of the day, man, you do whatever you feel like you want to do. I'm here to support you.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah,
love it. Good point. Absolutely. So if you can go back, so before I let you go, Coach, if you can go back, what would you do differently to climb the coaching ladder faster?
Honestly, man, I love my journey that I've taken. I've been in South Carolina. That's why I started it as a coordinator. And working my way up here in North Carolina taught me about grit and grind and just getting it out. People say getting out the mud, man. I really gotten out the mud. And I've earned my spot and my keep. I don't say much on, you know, social media. I pump out the program, and I want to give a shout out to my head coach, Breon Holmes, man, one of the best head coaches that I've been a part of, man. And he's growing something over there at Cox Mill. Not, thank God I'm a part of it. But I wouldn't take anything from it, because if you take anything from it, then something's going to be different. Right. Your journey is your journey. And, you know, within every journey, there's a testimony. And what I have, I can share with anybody. I'm not as people say, gatekeeper, man. This is for any and everybody, because when I die, my legacy is going to live on, because it's through people that I've impacted.
Love it. Nicely stated, man. Much appreciated, man. Thank you for sharing your wise words. There's a lot of young coaches that will appreciate that feedback that you just gave them, man. So young coaches, don't get discouraged, man. Keep chopping.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for listening to the Offseason 365 podcast. I'm Coach Simmons here with Coach Clark. Man, we signing off.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Today's episode is sponsored by Dynasty Athletic Performance and NC Football Connections.